basically where basically human does not exist. So where basically in Mumbai, where human does not exist, that is basically the Maharashtrian government's problem. And basically, I will suggest that don't try to find out that language in that location. Otherwise, entire Mumbai might be in get trouble due to that Maharashtrian political people. So don't try to track that location. If you are trying to track that location, then basically entire Mumbai is 100% going to in trouble. That you can write down in some bond paper. So assume that if from Mumbai city, in from some location, the Sri Krishna avatar basically got generated, right? Sri Krishna avatar basically got generated, and one of the problem basically that we have already discussed. My problem basically that we have already discussed, right? So here basically what the problem is. First basically we will see how the problem basically are designed. Who basically designs the problem? That is basically by default. People says that it's a government. But government basically the main thing basically in this earth planet, whatever things basically you can see, that basically never are basically they are just in front of the world. So in front of the world basically political people are basically are creating the problems. But it's not like that. Why? Because you are not able to track the person basically who is basically handling each and everything basically, right? Who is handling each and everything. So basically political people are not the problem. They are just basically in front of the world basically. They are basically in front of the world who are basically creating the problem. That is basically in front of the world. For example, Israel, Gaza. People says that Israel political people basically, Gaza political people basically are creating the problem. That is basically in front of the world, right? In front of the world basically. And one more thing basically, few people says that there are basically mostly basically 80 percentage top level peoples basically that are basically prime minister, presidents are basically human clones. Human clones basically they are very powerful. For example, there is one king. He basically ruled many countries basically. He basically got around 90 years, and then basically he died. So there are many countries basically who basically have the facilities of human cloning. That person basically when died, his skeleton basically was used as a human cloning, and then basically that king basically got some post, that is basically you can say some prime minister post, president post, and then basically the medias are there basically to create the stories that this person basically was doing this person has studies from this college, this person basically has studied from, and these all are the friends of his college. So it's basically nobody who knows basically, right? Nobody is going to do the inquiry. If they are going to do the inquiry, then basically he is going to be tracked, because the each and every college people basically they know that he is a human clone, and if anybody is going to do the inquiry, then he is supposed to know basically which type of answer basically he is supposed to give. So just see basically how the system is, how the system basically has created around one group. That is basically one group only. He has basically created the entire world system. So lots of people says that Jawaharlal Nehru still exists. Lots of people says that still basically Sardar Patel body exists in some other body, other face, other bodies, other body structure. There lots of people say that Mahatma Gandhi also exists. Lots of people say that Mahatma Gandhi also exists. Then basically what was that story basically? What was that story basically when he basically was died? So what was that story basically? Nathuram basically killed Mahatma Gandhi. So what was that? So like this basically lots of people says that people basically who dies, they're basically the famous people basically never gets burned basically. In Hindu basically you have to burn the body, right? And in Muslim basically you have to dig the body into some coffin basically you can say. And Christian also say, Jain also basically, Parsi basically have some different system. So like this Parsi basically body also basically gets human clone. It's very dangerous. So like this basically the body gets human clone, and they basically are controlled by the set of computers that are basically the software. So just see basically how the Sri Krishna group basically is getting created, and how the each and every mappings basically has done, because it's a 5,000 6,000 year old Sri Krishna avatar, right? It's not 1 or 2 years old, or it's not 100 or 200 year old. It's a 5,000 year. So lots of people basically, like Europe people are there, USA people are there. They basically know this. That's how basically the energy, how the basically the disease are basically getting generated in that World Bank basically. In World Bank energy data basically, how basically the things are being generated. So like this, the Sri Krishna takes the avatar from these 800 crore bodies energies, and like this basically the body disease gets spread. So lots of people says that why basically 100 year basically has taken, why basically 100 years are taken. So he basically one of the, you can say one of the perfect energy person basically. He told that there are lots of human bodies basically, and blood cells basically, they are so powerful that they can pass the condition from universe, sorry, from earth planet to universe. So there basically conditions basically might be, I will take one more example. Assume that there are 7,000 planets, 7,000 planets basically in one universe basically. Just taking as an example, in real basically it is more than 700 crore. So here just taking as an example, so it would not be any complicated. 7,000 planets basically has taken birth in sky. So lot few people says that 7,000 crore, sorry, 700 Earth planet has taken birth in the satellite in the universe, and from set of the energy it has generated, right? So like this, the body has sorry, the planets have generated, and here the things is why the planets are not getting merged with each other. There might be some reason, right? There might be some setting basically, few people groups of universe basically they have done that each and every earth planet, sorry, each earth planet also basically is connected with many planets, right? Many planets basically they are connected, so they basically are also connected with many planets, right? They are also not getting merged with the Mars. They are not getting merged with the Jupiter. They are not getting closer with the Jupiter. They are not getting touch with the Jupiter. Why? Because the setting basically has done like that. Otherwise, basically entire universe will get end, right? It's by default basically. If you are getting merged with each other, with the universe, with the planets, then basically by default it's going to merge, right? And basically if the attraction happening basically, it's basically crores of millions of basically uh, uh, distance basically are there, right? Millions or distance are there. So basically it's satellite basically easily able to track that this planet is going that side. So basically here have the data, so how to differentiate the energies. So like this, the planets basically got generated, and the distance are also basically there. So this is basically one of the example of the. That's why basically, without solving problem, Sri Krishna avatar basically never going to go, never going to go. So assume that Corona basically disease basically came from. Assume that it has came from 35 cities. Just taking as an example, 35 cities basically has generated the corona disease, right? 35 cities basically has generated the disease, and this disease basically is equal to Sri Krishna avatar basically, which has taken as a birth, right? So like this basically, the birth has taken and the avatar has also basically happened. So assume that uh, 35 cities basically has generated this problem. So immediately basically as the avatar basically gets activated, the world map basically gets generates the opposite data, that is basically the disease 35 disease का 35 cities की disease का antibiotic. So immediately basically they are going to generate that antibiotic, and from the antibiotic energy basically they are going to generate the another 35 to 40 cities. So like this basically 35 to 40 cities basically gets created. But lots of people says that how basically where is the space basically? Where is the space basically you can create the city? So for that basically sea is there. Sea is very large basically, right? So there basically lava blast happens. That basically Earth planet basically mostly might not be having the control. That is basically connected with the satellite groups only. They blast the lava in sea, and in sea basically the one new city gets created. Iceland basically same as basically the Mumbai city basically got created. Currently Mumbai basically exists and Mumbai basically has created, and without solving problem Sri Krishna avatar is basically not going to go. That is 100% sure. So like this basically the uh, uh, 35 cities basically were disease, and 40 city basically was the medicine basically which was generated, right? So medicine basically contains basically my 6 time visit also. Without this 6 time visit basically the problem is not going to solve, right? So here the main thing is Earth planet basically is moving, so they have to do the balancing also. 35 cities basically if exist, so they have to do the balancing also because they are creating the more 40 cities, so they have to do the balancing because Earth planet is moving. So balancing companies basically gets exist, weighing scale of the Earth planet you can say. So like this basically the city basically gets created and the balancing basically gets happen. So like this basically the city basically got created 40 cities basically. Assume that it's in sea basically. Nobody know basically that who's going basically going to uh, see the sea basically what happening in sea. Nobody basically see that, right? Nobody have basically the rights also, and nobody have the power also, right? That what is happening in that sea location. It's very difficult, right? It's very difficult. So like this, the sea basically creates 40 cities, and then basically they do the balancing also. So balancing means they have to finish that city also. So like this, few cities also basically gets update. You basically mostly basically don't finish the city. Why? Because if disease exists, there is some post basically called doctor. Right? Doctor post is already created, right? So for that basically how basically doctors are going to survive. So for that basically 35 city basically never going to end up. But 40 city basically is already existing, that is basically the antibiotic of the 35 disease. So we have to take care of the internal post basically, which is already created. Take care of that post. So this is basically part 3 of Sri Krishna Avatar, that is ongoing basically.